With Iowa football officially back, it's time to take a look at Iowa's Week 1 opponent, the Utah State Aggies. Utah State 6-7 on the year in 2022. However, the previous season, Kirk Ferentz was sure to bring this up during his weekly availability on Tuesday. Utah State did win 11 games in 2021. Good coaching staff led by a good quarterback, Logan Bonner. He is no longer with the team, left due to graduation last year after getting hurt. But they do have a talented quarterback in Cooper Legas. We're going to talk about Cooper. We're going to talk about the offense, the defense, what Iowa needs to do to have success against this Aggies team and avoid a scare in the Kinnick Stadium. But first, I want to thank our sponsors. First of all, Iowa Floor Covering and their Tough Core Click Together 4.5 millimeter waterproof vinyl flooring. It's available at just $269 per foot with self-installation. Visit iowafloorcovering.com/DIY. Thank you to IFC and Bondurant. And Ascent Nutrition. How about their new Lion's Mane mushroom? Great for your immune system, your gut health. You can read all about this product and many more, including their mold and mycotoxin-free coffee, which should be a part of your daily routine. Visit goascentnutrition.com. And when you purchase products through Ascent Nutrition, use the code Hawkeyes at checkout for 15% off your order. Again, the website is goascentnutrition.com. So the Hawkeyes and the Aggies this Saturday in Kinnick Stadium, Week 1. And as I mentioned at the outset, this is a Utah State program that is traditionally pretty good. In fact, that 6-7 year in 2022, one of their worst in recent time. Now, they did finish second in the Mountain West somehow at 6-7. They went 5-3 in the conference, 6-7 overall, lost to Memphis in the bowl game. Cooper Legas, they had a lot of injuries. Cooper Legas being one, had a lot of injuries last year. Levi Williams, former Wyoming quarterback who had transferred into Utah State, was also down for a period of time. Now, we'll see the improvement from Cooper. Again, assuming he's healthy, he is a mobile quarterback, but their pass offense struggled mightily last year. In fact, they passed for over 300 yards just twice on the season. And we talk about Iowa's points per game average being really bad. Utah State's wasn't much better, just 22.2 points per game for the entire year. They did have to play Alabama Week 1, by the way, got killed. I think it was 59-0 against Alabama in Week 1 of 2022. But the point is, this is an offense in Utah State that struggled last year. In fact, if you look at total offensive numbers, Utah State 104th in the country. Iowa was down towards the bottom. There's about 130, 131 FBS teams in the country. I think we're at 131, steady at 131. Utah State was 104. They were 104th in rush offense. They were basically as bad rushing the football as they were passing the football. You look at total defense, they were mediocre at best. I wouldn't even give them that. 106th in the country overall, 113th in rush defense. They did lose some as far as edge rushers are concerned. Question marks surrounding the defensive end position with the Aggies. They did add people in the portal, and you're going to see that with a lot of G5 schools. Even with Western Michigan, Iowa plays them Week 3. With the transfer portal, that's not just a flux with Power 5 schools, but a lot of those great G5 players are going up into Power 5 spots. And so then those G5 schools are forced to grab JUCO kids from the FCS level, and other G5 players, or even Power 5 players that weren't able to get playing time. In fact, Utah State does have a wide receiver transfer from Stanford who played a little bit for the Cardinal, but not much. Gives them good size on the outside. Terrell Vaughn, a returning wideout for the Aggies, caught 56 balls last year for 624 yards and 5 touchdowns. They have just one returning starter on the offensive line. So they've lost a lot. Again, they brought in some people, not only a wideout from Stanford, they brought in a couple of skilled JUCO players at skill position spots, both at running back and wide receiver. I mentioned Levi Williams. He is back now, not projected to be the starter, but I remember watching the famous Idaho Potato Bowl a couple of seasons ago, and he went off in that game. Really has good legs. I would not be shocked if Utah State utilizes both of these quarterbacks in Cooper Legas and Levi Williams, but we assume both guys are healthy now. And again, both provide somewhat of a different flair. I think Levi may be a little bit bigger than Cooper Legas. I will say, I mentioned the 2021 11-3 year. Yes, they're a couple of years removed from that, but they did beat a couple of Power Fives during that season, one at Washington State and against Oregon State. So Blake Anderson, their head coach, knows how to win games at the Power 5 level and on the road. They do have a new defensive coordinator. Joe Cobbin brings a plethora of experience, veteran coordinator. They bring him in at DC. We'll see what he can do, again, trying to rehabilitate what they lost on the defensive line. I will say this, it'll be interesting to see how much Iowa shows against Utah State. We always talk about Iowa coming out in week one, kind of playing a vanilla style of football. I think that's more often than not an excuse for an offense that's just not very good most of the time. Obviously, last year, we were hoping after that 7-3 win against South Dakota State, in which Iowa scored 4 points off 2 safeties. We were hoping that was just, Iowa wasn't showing much. Now that was basically par for the course. Cade McNamara is still banged up. I don't think he's 100%. Kirk Ferentz did not tip his cap one way or the other regarding McNamara's availability on Saturday, but it does seem like Cade will probably give it a go. Still dealing with that soft tissue injury. I've been told it's a quad. We'll see if he plays on Saturday. I would anticipate that he does. And if he does, my guess is they'll try to keep him in the pocket, not get him to extend very many plays. And if you're Utah State, can you generate pressure and force him to move on that lingering quad injury? That could create problems. He goes down. You got a guy in Deacon Hill who doesn't really have any experience at all. Maybe they would go with Joe Labus, but it sounds like Deacon is the second guy in. I'll be intrigued to see if they can generate pressure. And obviously, if they're able to generate pressure, if this G5 defense is able to generate pressure, I know they've added some pieces, but if they're able to do that against Iowa's offensive line, that is not a good sign. If Iowa's not able to run the football at least semi-effectively, I think they need to be running the ball proficiently against Utah State. Again, this was the 113th ranked rushing defense in the country last year. Iowa should be able to run the ball up and down the field on Utah State. If they don't, if they can't, that is not a good sign for the future, especially given the talent Iowa has at running back with Caleb Johnson, Jazian Patterson, LaShawn Williams. All three of those guys are healthy, and it looks like the offensive line is relatively healthy. George Barnett, Kirk Ferentz, Brian Ferentz, those guys have been bullish on the offensive line's development and improvement during the offseason. They should absolutely be able to run the ball at will against Utah State. And my biggest thing to watch in this game, folks, is can Iowa generate a 3-4 score lead heading into the fourth quarter and get Cade McNamara out of the game? I am not an advocate for Cade McNamara sitting this game out. I've heard some people talk, oh, he needs to sit out and just save himself for Iowa State. This is a 12-game season, and unless he absolutely is at risk of re-injuring himself in week one more than you are in any game, he needs to be playing, all right? he came here to play, and Iowa needs him. I don't care if it's against Utah State, Western Michigan, or against Penn State. They need McNamara to get reps in a real game with this offense, with the line, with the center, with the receivers, with the backs, etc. And he needs to play in this game. But at the same time, I don't desire him to play 4 full quarters, and you only get 2 games against G5 schools. This is against a team who, yeah, they were 6-6 regular season, but finished the season 6-7, under 500. They should be able to create a nice cushion in the fourth quarter and get him out of the game and get some of those guys like a Nico Ragaini, like an Eric All, or even a Luke Lachey out of the game. Give guys like Steven Stilianos, Addison Estringa, maybe even Joe Labus, and certainly Deacon Hill some experience, and give those guys rest heading into Iowa State. So that's what I would say. Can Iowa generate a big lead heading into the fourth quarter? If the game is in doubt heading into the fourth, I'm going to be not only nervous about the fourth quarter, but disappointed that Iowa wasn't able to take care of business. But again, this is a good coaching staff led by Blake Anderson. They've got some talent at quarterback. I've seen Levi Williams play, and he's not even their starter. He is good when he's healthy. Terrell Vaughn's good. But Iowa should win the battle in the trenches. Iowa's defensive line should wreak havoc on that offensive line that's young and very, very green. I'll give you my prediction, my score prediction for this game, along with the rest of the major games in college football later this week. Keep it locked right here from the Hawkeye of the Storm all week long. More coverage leading up to the game, and of course, after the game, about an hour following the game on Saturday, myself and Coach Don Patterson live talking to you about the result, taking your phone calls, taking your chats and questions. And don't forget, tomorrow, I'm recording this on Tuesday, Wednesday night, the 30th of August, myself and Brad Heinrich, CEO of the Swarm Collective, will be live taking your calls, taking your chats and comments, talking about the week and the season ahead. We'll be live at 7:30 p.m. Central Time Wednesday. Join us live right here from the Hawkeye of the Storm.